is Ivy Kane, and today I'm going to be talking about mental illness. How many people in this room have struggled with it, know someone who has, or have been judged for dealing with it themselves? The three most common types of mental illness are depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Depression makes it hard to get out of bed and do everyday things. Anxiety makes you overthink and makes it hard to be around other people. PTSD is something that a lot of veterans come back from active duty having, and a lot of people who have experienced traumatic events also deal with PTSD. I'm going to be talking about the stigma around mental illness, how to cope with it, and how mental illness affects a person. Feel free to ask any questions at the end. The stigma around mental illness is mainly negative. People have a negative mindset towards people who deal with mental illnesses. Young people with mental illnesses still tend to feel weird or out of place because of the negative stigma around mental illness in schools and with their friends. People in this generation have a tendency to stay away from people with mental illness. There are many ways of coping with mental illness, and everyone has their own way of doing so. One of the most popular and possibly most effective is therapy. Finding things that make you happy and doing them is also another big coping mechanism. Getting out of the house, hanging out with friends, and doing things that you once loved. Getting out of the house helps a lot so that you're not wallowing in your own self-pity, but also don't overdo it. If you try too hard to get your mind off of your mental illness and bottling it up, it can make it much worse. One of my friends goes to therapy and takes medicine for her anxiety and her depression, and it helps her not bottle it up so much and not worry as much. A few of the treatments are therapy, medicine, and therapy animals. Mental illness can change a person completely, the way they act, the way they feel, and the way they function. For example, it can control your relationships and how your work ethic is. Mental illness takes the you that you once knew and threw it out the window. One has to learn how to take control of their life and not let this illness take them down. The stigma, the coping, and the effects of mental illness are also important. If you know someone dealing with a mental illness, I hope that you do some research yourself. Does anybody have any questions?
You mentioned anxiety, and I don't know, maybe I have mental illness, so I'm just going to ask if you might know more. Does anxiety, you mentioned the overthinking or thinking a lot about one thing, could it make you believe something that's not true because you think about it so much, or it weighs on your mind so much that you convince yourself it's true?
Yes.
What is there for anxiety? I wouldn't think there would be like a therapy to help you with overthinking.
You can go to therapy and they can teach you ways to cope with it, how not to do so, and there's also medication available. And as I mentioned, therapy animals help a lot.
Okay. Do you think anxiety is something that one could ever overcome, or you'll have it forever?
You can overcome it to the point to where you can function on a daily basis, but I don't think that you could get rid of it forever because it's a chemical imbalance in your brain.
And what about depression? Is that a...
Same thing. You learn how to cope with it and how to deal with it and to not let it take over.
But people that have never had it and they go through a bad divorce or something, they get it, they can never get over it, or is it with them forever once you get it?
Yes, because it's a chemical imbalance.
Okay, well that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.